Aloha, it's Jennifer Victoria Bell. And I know I've been talking about revealing something and I'm getting to it. Okay, I'm sitting in the car. I probably could have taken my seatbelt off since I'm parked, but it's on, so whatever. I'm strapping in, I'm strapping myself down for this one. So, there's a lot of history behind this, and I really want to present this with a good frame, a good, so that you can access the lens of perception you need to process this and to see how it serves you. I'm not trying to sway you in a direction. I'm especially not trying to sway you in a direction against specific people, but there are specific people that have inspired this. So I've been on this theme for a little while with the Akashic Records, because my sense is that people aren't really accessing records. And there have been, I know, like, people will go, oh, she's saying studies, but there have been studies and research that prove that hypnosis does not access memories. So what does that actually mean? So I'll go this way first and talk about the way I see the records, and then you form your own opinion, basically process and based on your own experience and form your own opinion. Part of this started because I've had record readings. I was like, and also the things that people said were going to happen from my records didn't happen, haven't happened, and like there's like a sense of like whatever they were saying has no substance behind it. Okay, which is interesting. Okay, because there's a theme of what I call, like, it's like spiritual materialism. It's almost like it's like spiritual consumerism. And it's like, collecting all the Barbies, like all the different Barbies or all the different action figures that have all these different powers, and not realizing they're just doing the same thing, but with spiritual beings or ascended masters. So I'll go more into that. It's just, there's a lot in here. So anyway, back to the records. One thing, like, so that inspired me. So this person, there's a podcast that I listened to, and it was pointed out to me by my friend Amy Miyamoto, who she's big in with astrology and human design, and I've had a lot of great feedback and sessions with her over the years, and she has a great perspective, and she didn't fall for the all the shenanigans of the past few years, so I can appreciate that in someone greatly. So this podcast is called Bewitched, and it's outing a spiritual mentor that they're calling Betty. But if you've been around, you understand that there is someone who has an Akashic Record Akashic Record Institute training program, whatever, that says she's been around the longest, like over 20 years, has so many, teachers. A lot of people have used that modality. And she also was like a business coach, and then, like one of these 7-figure people, and then also became like, oh, I'm this one and only channel and all this stuff. I saw this stuff kind of blowing up. But the interesting thing for me is that this person blocked me. So I made a post on my personal page in 2019, and it said, if someone doesn't ask for permission to access your Akashic Records in a session, like payment, scheduling the appointment is just scheduling an appointment. It is not permission to access someone's energy or records, and we've got to start getting this straight. I said, run away from that person. Well, She blocked me from her group because I posted it on my personal page. I didn't post it in her group, nothing. So I knew I hit a it's not just a trigger, okay? I knew that this person was completely out of integrity because that threatened whatever she was doing. So anyway, they're calling her Betty. It's the Bewitched podcast. And there are a lot of different themes. And the one thing I will say right now is that I would never work with any of those people that are on that podcast that work with her. And I will tell you why. You can if you want to. Because, and here's one of the main reasons. There's a lot of themes of like, oh, we were so spiritually powerful. This person, you know, she was collecting us. She was a collector. Man, you have to like keep affirming your power. You have to keep affirming your spiritual gifts. You're not centered in where your real giftedness is. Okay, so I don't want to say they don't have power. I'm not going to say they don't have gifts or they don't have power, because we all do. But to have to keep repeating, or to be a collector of studying, someone who studies channels, someone who has been trying to categorize spiritual intelligence, but is confusing it with spiritual materialism. You're not going to get much spiritual substance. You're not going to access your own spiritual substance with these people. So that's my caveat. Do what you want with that. And it's very telling because the one host actually blocked me from the group that's where she's promoting this thing because one of the people that she had interviewed, I just said I had a direct experience with this person. And I hope that she stopped stealing content from the people she was promising to help with their content. And I also know that someone else who had been in this group program with the one person they interviewed had reached out, and this was in 2019. And I didn't save any of this because I don't care. But she had reached out and showed me that the exact thing that this person was saying that she created and it was authentic and all that came from Russell Brunson or one of those Russells that's like client attraction coach, one of those, I think that's his name. Anyway, so I saw it. I saw the receipts, but I didn't keep them. And truthfully, I didn't keep in touch with her and I don't even remember her name. So I can't provide any of that. And I didn't feel a need to like, rally the troops against this person, but I'm just telling you, like, my background. So I revealed some of that in a very, very, like, I hope this person has stopped doing these things, and I sincerely hope that everyone involved with this podcast, everyone gains clarity on the difference between spiritual intelligence and spiritual materialism. Well, I got blocked. So again, same thing that they're complaining about this Betty. Betty did the same thing to me, like just blocked me. Now they're doing the same thing to me, and I'm like, okay, all right, I see where this is going. But my point is, this is all tied into Akashic Records, and the one thing I find the most interesting. Now, I'm not saying you have to go listen to this podcast because I'm just going to tell you, you might not want to because it's almost for me nauseating about, we're just like a group of women with so much spiritual power, or like one is a trained clinician of psychology, it's just clinical training. That clinical training couldn't see this person was a narcissist or a sociopath or a psychopath. Hey, how about you question your clinical training? Because we got to question that, you're not more than because you have clinical training. Your clinical training did not help you, right? So I can go into a whole thing about psychology and the indoctrination and how it's been influenced and how it's, it's just, I just don't even want to go there. It's flimsy at best. So here we go. And this is, my bachelor's degree is in psychology, which is not much, but I have some background, tiny bit of background, and I work with people. So I work with people and I see their psychology and I look at their psychology all the time. I'm not a therapist. It's not what I do. And I'm not a psychotherapist, but so I'm getting off track. Let me go back. Akashic Records. So I had readings from 3 different people who had studied with this, who had did this modality, right? It was like, really, I'm telling you, like the most like information I've ever heard. So I thought there's nothing to this modality. So in this podcast, I would say the majority of these women, maybe one is like kind of like questioning it. The majority of them are like defending this modality. It's a beautiful modality. It's a wonderful modality. And I'm going, oh, so they haven't even said, is there a problem with the modality? Yeah, there's a problem. So, okay. All right. Problem with the modality. And the other thing that's interesting is that there's a common theme that they talk about how they had a reading with the Betty, the founder of this Akashic record reading modality. And they all said they got some crappy information from her that didn't feel right. But then they just had to study the modality. They had to study it because it was amazing and wonderful. And I'm going, is there not a problem here? Not seeing an issue here? So it's like in their face, they're blind and blinded by spiritual materialism. And it's a problem. It's definitely a problem. Now, a problem for spiritual development as a whole, collectively. So here we are. We're in this reality. I'm like, this is the trauma realm, in my opinion. We all have some level of discord. We have some level of unprocessed stuff. You know, even people who have like pretty decent lives, decent family upbringing, they have stuff. I mean, when you have clients, you see they have stuff. And so you don't know my background. I'll just give you a little bit of that so you can understand where I'm coming from. I have over 36,000 hours of experience. It's probably close to 38,000 now. Since 1998. Now, I studied a very, very therapeutic style of yoga. Not very spiritual based, much more almost physical therapy based, okay? 3 years of that. Massage school, acupuncture school. So I've done massage and acupuncture. And in that time, while I was working on people, my intuition naturally opened up. I didn't have to study, didn't have to take a class. And I would ask questions of people about like what I was sensing without interpreting it. And that's the key there, without interpretation. It's information for them to interpret or to understand. So like, for example, I'd put my hands on someone, be working on their shoulder, and I would all of a sudden feel sad. Now, I didn't try to interpret it. I just said, hey, have you been feeling sad lately? Yes. Da 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 da. This happened. Okay. So I knew that this was like in their field and this work was going to help them. And then they would feel that energy move, like the energy of sadness. Their energy wasn't stagnating in sadness. They were able to get a perspective just from me working on it and processing and maybe asking some other questions, right, to help them to kind of like get them through. Now, I developed that from years and years of work. And so that's my background. So this is so you understand the filter that this is coming through, or conduit. So here we have all this stuff needs to be processed. I mean, you don't have to sit here and go, we have to process everything to heal. That's not what I'm saying. It's just to be able to process reality as it is, as what's in front of us. Well, to be able to process it with a clear lens of perception, a clear filter. That's it. You want to add past lives to process? Past life trauma, past life stories on top of that to compound it and think you're finding a solution or an answer. Now, I'm not saying it can't be helpful. I'm sure people have felt helped and have things have happened and shifted. But it's just another story. It's another level of story. So who's to say that that past life is that person's past life? If we're in this field, this big collective field, and there are memories, maybe it's just a memory from someone else's life. Like that truck has passed by, right? That just kind of like helped that person to process what they were going through. Maybe it's just accessing the field of experiences that is helping someone process through what they're presently experiencing. So the reason I bring this forward, and the reason why I'm not saying Akashic Records are a scam or a sham. What I'm saying is I think how we have been seeing them is incorrect. How we have been using them is incorrect. And part of it is just to access a field of information that can help you through whatever you're going through. In this place, this is the material realm. The name of the game, like everyone's like, I want to, like people are like solidifying themselves and crystallizing themselves and marking themselves in a specific way. They want to be known or seen or recognized. And I've been there. I've been into that. I've been in that space where I was feeling so frustrated for not being recognized for what I can do, or not even really being able to see what I can do, or nobody could see it. And it's frustrating. If you kind of feel lost. So a lot of the spiritual stuff that's out there to me is just action player garbage. I gotta unplug this because it says the device is too hot now. My device is too hot. It's hot. Okay. So that's where I'm at with this. That the big picture is that the Akashic Records, I think, are being used incorrectly by and large, and that may be an infiltration. And even if people have had like past life kind of like trance sessions where they find a name, they actually find that name of that person and they actually were alive and all of that, doesn't mean it was their life. Why do you want to claim it? Why do you want to identify it? It's the ID entity. Get it? Identification. ID entity. Like you're just making more solidifying yourself in a way here, right? That might not allow you to actually transcend what you're looking to transcend, and remember your wholeness, and remember that you are a God-centered being, source-centered, divinely centered. I don't really care which word you use. So that's where I'm at. I will probably share, I know I'll share more about this. And I mean, this has like changed the game for me because look, I did past life. I read people's past lives. Like I read them, right? But I held on loosely to that story, and I saw people get so over-identified with the story. It wasn't healthy. And I stopped. And the other thing is I never had training to do that. And people say, oh, well, you never had training, so you don't know. Well, things naturally open for me. I'll see information. And if that information helps someone, great. And if it doesn't, it doesn't. But making an identity out of a past life to help yourself in this life is just compounding what we're going through here instead of helping it to transform on some level. So I will share more as it comes, as I get it, kind of the clarity. And I just, I hope this serves you well. And if you have questions, just please feel free to reach out. Okay. So lots of joy and aloha. And I'm appreciating all I'm in the parking lot out front of where I teach Pilates. So I'm just kind of appreciating that the cars are just rolling by. I'm in the parking lot. They're just rolling by. And I'm not trying to identify with those cars or who's in those cars or make them part of my life. And that's how I feel like we need to have, hold on loosely, but don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're going to lose control. I think that's Boston. And I've said this before. I think there's a level of flex. The way we need to operate here. That needs more people need to kind of move into this way of operation in order to be healthy and whole, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. So lots of joy and aloha. See you soon. Bye.